What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Nothing But Skills, and today I'm going to be showing you guys that beautiful sniper build that you guys saw and what a lot of people are running for Boomer. Now, sometimes you can only have one guy run this because you guys don't have the build to set this up, but hopefully as you guys watch this video, if you want to run 2-3 guys, you can most likely drop Boomer in one shot. So this video right here is a straight hitter beast. I love it. I love this sniper build. I put it together and I'm enjoying it. So it runs 11 offensive, 5 utility, 0 defensive because you don't need it, because remember, this is about dropping him in one shot, 2 shots the max. Now I am running 178,000 armor, 27k health, 1400 skill power. So let's get into the build. I'm running a surplus SVD, 91k. Now, the talents you want to run on this are Naked. You can also put on Ranger, something like that if you want. Naked actually works really good if you can have a little bit more health, because remember, when you deplete your armor, you get 50% increase headshot damage when your armor is depleted, but you do have to run an 8x scope or higher. So I ideally would probably put on the sharpshooter, the one that gives you that 45% headshot damage. That would be great. This also has optimized 15% weapon handling, and the third talent, don't even really worry about it. So the way I have it modded, I am running that damage to elites scope on there. And remember, you get 25% extra headshot damage because the nemesis is holstered. But if you want, you can actually run this scope right here that gives you that 45% headshot damage. Just make sure you unlock the rifle in the sharpshooter class. I'm running +5 rounds, stability on the angle grip, and stability on the muzzle. You can put that 5% damage to elites on the muzzle if you want. I'll let you decide that. If you need the stability, run the stability. If you don't, run the damage to elites. Now if we get into my nemesis, look at the base damage on that bad boy, 576,000. That's base damage, guys. Base damage right there. And then for the pistol, I'm just running the sharpshooter pistol. Put whatever you want here, doesn't really matter. I don't really use it for anything. Now let's get into the build itself. So one of the key pieces to this build is this Sokolov mask. You guys are gonna say, why run a Sokolov mask with SMG damage? You don't use SMG. Well, the Sokolov mask is gonna give you 2 yellows and a red, plus you can put spotter on here, so you're able to roll damage to elites. Skill power will be on there, skill haste, whatever. You just use that to unlock spotter. And spotter, remember, 20% weapon damage is towards post enemies, so an additional 20% damage on top of that nemesis, and you can roll some pretty high damage to elite rolls here. Now my piece caps out at 39% due to the armor being pretty high and then the skill power roll being pretty high. So if you can get a low armor roll, some low skill rolls, you can probably push this damage to elites to the max roll on there, but mine will cap out at 39%, which sucks because I have some nice 45% rolls that I want to put on there. If we get into the chest is probably one of my favorite chest pieces you want to pick up for this, the 511, because you get that 5% protection from elites, but a lot of times you can get 2 red, 1 yellow roll, and that helps me unlock spotter, plus you can get hard hitting on here, and then you get 2 offensive mod slots. So I rolled 19% headshot damage on here. Ideally, if I could have a 15% weapon damage roll and a 19% headshot damage roll, this will let me hit so much harder, but you know, I'm losing it there because I had to pick one or the other, and I decided to roll that 19% headshot damage on there over the critical hit damage that was rolled on there, which I wouldn't get any benefit. Now the 2 offensive mod slots, look at this. 5% marksman rifle damage, 1% weapon damage. Then at the bottom we have 5% marksman rifle, 1% weapon damage. So an additional 12% weapon damage just on the chest piece. We get into the holster. The holster is the Heraldi. You want to have a 3-piece Heraldi because you want the 10% accuracy, 10% headshot damage, and the 10% marksman rifle damage. Now you do want to get a yellow roll here, and you want the Heraldi one that comes with a talent. So this one comes with skill power. I was able to roll hard hitting on there, and then it always comes with the offensive mod slot. So sometimes you can get one with just 1 attribute, no talent, and offensive mod slot, but you want to get a holster just like this one. And then look at the offensive mod slot. We get 4% marksman rifle damage and then 1.5% weapon damage. If we get into the knee pads gave me 5% accuracy. So good again for those marksman rifle builds. I have a yellow on here, I have hard hitting, and then I have an offensive mod slot. So these are the knee pads you want to go with. This is the final piece I needed to unlock spotter. And then I also get hard hitting for that damage to elite And then on the offensive mod slot, I get, look, marksman rifle damage 4%, 2% weapon damage. So 6% right there. Now for the gloves, this is the second piece of heraldry. This is the 10% headshot damage. I have 11% marksman rifle damage on there. I have wicked 10% weapon damage to status effect enemies. Now as long as they're burning, you will get that extra 10% weapon damage. So I hit a little bit harder. And with Boomer, you see how he did it. Now, if we're not going to run some type of status effect, this is where you could put damage to elite, hard hitting, or precise. But for any enemy that we can get a status effect on, I always run wicked. There's no better talent that you can roll than wicked on these gloves. Now, if we jump into the backpack's going to give me the final piece of heraldry. I get that 10% marksman rifle damage. And this has some pretty good rolls. It had 8.5% weapon damage. It had 6.5 critical hit damage. I'd rather have critical hit chance if anything, but ideally I wouldn't mind having some more health so that way I can run naked a little bit easier on my SVD when I use that, right? So if I could have a little bit more health, that would be better, but I just need it for the weapon damage. And then I rolled hard hitting down here for that 10% damage to elites. And this comes with an offensive mod. You want to get the heraldry backpack that comes with an offensive mod. And if I could get this mod right here on every single piece, this is what I would want. 5% marksman rifle, 1% damage to health, and then weapon damage, or 1% damage to armor would be ideal. That's the type of mods I would love to have stacked on this build. But this is how I run my sniper build. 576,000 base damage. Now there are two things that you're gonna need to have in your group to hit those high numbers. They're gonna need to be running 2 different sets. So I'll show you that right now. Now the first set that you want in your group is gonna be Tip of the Spear. And it's because of the 6 talent. If you read it carefully, it says party raid members deal 20% extra damage to pulse enemies. So with spotter, that's 20%. Right here with this, that's 20%. Pop a pulse. Very beneficial to all of your snipers and something you guys should be running. So besides Tip of the Spear, you want to have one of your teammates run aces and eights. And it's because of what aces and eights does. It gives you guys, once aces and eights procs, 100% bonus damage. So that 100% bonus damage with Tip of the Spear, that extra 20% damage, you see how these numbers start to stack up and how your sniper does all that damage. Now remember, enemies have damage mitigation, so if I'm hitting 19.4, what you see at the range most likely won't hit 19.4 on Boomer. Right there I was able to hit almost 15 million. It was like 14,947,000. But in the range, you guys saw that I was hitting, with everything procced, 19,444,000. So a little bit of a difference, but remember, these enemies tend to have armor mitigation, so the exact numbers that you hit in the range won't be the exact numbers you hit on these heavy bosses. Now, one thing you need to make sure is you take advantage of the 2 main talents on the Nemesis. The Nemesis, aiming at an enemy, marks that enemy. Your shots gain 5% damage to your enemy for each second that they are marked. Now, they're marked for 15 seconds, so as long as they're marked for 10 seconds, you'll be at max damage. That's an additional 50%. Now, also with Counter Sniper, shots fired deal 0 to 100% weapon damage based on how long you hold the trigger. So if you hold the trigger to the very end, that's an additional 100% weapon damage. So taking advantage of those 2 talents and doing it right is going to let you get the most bang for your buck, which each shot, and then have the possibility of hitting 19, 20, 21 million depending on your build. For the skills, I usually run a pulse just to back up the pulse of the Tip of the Spear, because even if I pulse and I have someone running Tip of the Spear, it will give me that extra 20% damage from the Tip of the Spear plus, spotter. And then for my secondary, run whatever you want. If you want to run a flame turret to get the status effect on the enemy, if you want to run the Reviver Hive, it doesn't really matter, because your goal is to put out as much damage with one shot as possible. And so I forgot to record the stats for you, but just so you know, with the Nemesis, 92% damage to elites, and the headshot damage is 210%. And then of course the Nemesis base damage is 576,000. Having 2-3 guys run this, you guys should be able to 1-phase, 2-phase Boomer with no issue. Just make sure you guys everything's set up in your group. Hopefully this helps you guys out. This is probably one of the funnest builds I got to put together in a while, creating a build that could put out so much damage, and it was fun doing it. Finally got the pieces. Leave a thumbs up if you found this video useful. If you have any questions, use the comment section down below. But as always, until the next video, nothing but skills out.